Well, Ted, this is a first.
It is. Well, we have the great Micah Fern on. That's a first.
That's what I was absolutely referring to.
It's Micah Fern's birthday. He's 36. Yes. I'm a little jealous.
Happy birthday.
I don't like to be seated this close to a younger, handsome man.
Young lad.
Just a kid.
I know.
But a very special kid because he's a kid with an owl.
Yeah.
And we get to see an owl today, Fred Thomas. And
I'm so excited about this.
I'm not going to lie. I put a little extra pep in my podcasting step, just getting over here and knowing that we were going to get to have that experience. I'm super pumped about it. And Mike is one of our most successful and well thought of professors, and it's going to be a good day.
Well, I've already said it off air. I'm super thankful that you're here, but I'm also super thankful you did not bring the snake.
Yeah,
I would have been sick today.
Yeah.
Okay, tell everybody that has no idea who Micah Fern is. Who in the world? That sounds like it should be the name of your show. Who is Micah Fern? Where is Micah Fern? What is Micah Fern doing? Who are you, Micah Fern?
Well, we can start kind of from the Union history standpoint. Okay. So I went straight from like the wild jungles of the Philippines on an airplane by myself.
Wow.
To Jackson.
Wow.
So that was a huge culture shock.
Yes.
And I went to school at Union.
Okay.
And then I left to do some grad schooling, and then God brought me back to Union. Mm-hmm. And so, that was very interesting because I had made Brian Carrier a deal that I wouldn't come back.
One of those deals.
So back then he was the head of security. And
this is awesome.
We've heard tell of those deals.
Listen, there's a story happening here that I really want to know, but I know that's not the point of this show.
No, I actually want to know it. I was going to do 30 seconds on, what was your undergrad persona? There's 10 personas at play at Union. What was your Union guy undergrad persona?
It's always been Steve Irwin, right?
Yeah, animal guy.
Everyone's like, that guy constantly has animals in him.
Yeah.
And so it was...
Dude, you're sneaking him into the dorm.
Oh, yeah.
You're that guy.
The RA finally made a deal that he's like, I can't keep you from keeping animals in your room. I've tried. So everyone's not allowed to have animals except for Micah Fern.
Oh, I love it, dude.
And I worked at the vet, and so, I was Dr. Huggins' protege.
Okay.
And it was just understood that I would have animals. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. Missionary kids coming to the U.S. straight from whatever adventurous place that their parents had them in, it's either a really good experience or a really bad experience. Yeah. In fact, there's a podcast that someone I grew up with started about the emotional trauma that missionary kids go through. Sure. And it's just funny because I never had that. Okay. It was incredible. It was the biggest adventure I've ever had in my life, and I love that. But some people, it was just traumatizing, you know. And so I feel bad for those kids, and I actually, when I was a student at Union, I kind of avoided the missionary kids because a lot of them were negative, just having a hard time transitioning to American culture. Yeah. And so I ended up making really good friends with the soccer folks.
And the head of security.
And the head of security. And so...
You got well acquainted.
I wasn't getting in trouble for being bad. I just didn't know the rules.
Sure.
I just came from a different... I just came from a different world. Okay. And so, it was constantly butting heads with them.
Yeah.
And probably there was a rule in the rule book that was because of me.
What is it?
There was when we had the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Well, I needed a study break, and so I wanted to go swimming to study. And
no
it was
pets allowed in the pool.
It was 11 o'clock midnight, and it was storming, big lightning storm. So I went, and of course the doors were locked, but I tried one of the windows, and the window was open.
Good night for a swim.
Good night for a swim.
Well, how convenient.
I was very into it. So I had the swim cap, the goggles.
Oh man,
red
you were
Speedo.
really into it.
Yeah, I was doing my laps.
Doing the laps.
About 40 minutes into swimming, I come up and there's a flashlight in my face, and the security guard is screaming at me. And I'm like, oh gosh, what? I jumped out of the pool. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's like, you're not supposed to be in here. And so I was like, what? And I thought as a student we had open access to this stuff.
Who cares if the door's locked?
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm standing in Brian Carrier's office. He had to come up at midnight.
Oh.
I'm in a Speedo.
Oh.
And he was not happy.
No.
But I don't know. I think the reason I came back, God brought me back, was part of kind of a redemption story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been able to come back and kind of make up for that, you know, kind of be redeemed in a sense. And it was a little bit of a challenge at first because some of my antics had lived on in stories.
Sure.
Here's another one. Okay.
Yeah.
You're still not convinced. You're still like, oh gosh, what did he do? So we were in Dr. Huggins' wildlife class, and security came in one day and was like, hey, you wildlife students, we have a major skunk problem on campus, and we're willing to offer $200 to you wildlife students for everyone for every skunk you catch.
Wow.
And
I'll go find that skunk.
I was,
Yeah. I think faculty would do that.
I mean, $200. Okay.
I was super broke. I was selling plasma at that point.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you
And
go.
so I'm like, man, $40 gets me for a giant needle in my veins, and I can catch a skunk for $200.
Yeah.
So I caught 2 skunks
Attaboy.
and
Look
kept
at
them
you.
in my little brother's bathroom in our dorm.
Sweet. Rolling in the dough with 2 skunks.
And I forgot to tell him. He walked in the bathroom and was like, "Wah." And I called security, and I'm like, hey, I've got 2 skunks. That's $400, right? And they was like, well, the TWRA said that we actually weren't supposed to tell you to do that. So we just need you to let them go. And I risked getting sprayed to catch these skunks.
Yeah.
So you can imagine I was a little upset. And so I put them in a box, and I wrote "free kittens" on it.
Oh.
And I left it in the walkway.
Listen.
Wow.
And
Legendary.
wait. And we're all looking outside the window. Who walks by but my RA and his girlfriend on a little nighthing stroll?
Yeah, dude, that nighttime stroll it's Christian college staple. Yeah.
So they, I couldn't hear him, but I see the girl go, oh. And she goes up to the box, and they're on their knees, and they open it up, and they just levitate like 10 feet backwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. What a great story.
Listen,
was.
I have this hunch, though, that some of this really hasn't changed that much.
Yeah.
In all these years, I feel like there's that part of you that's still very much alive and active when it comes to mischief and just maybe, let's call it adventure. Let's call it adventure. It's not mischief, it's adventure.
So, to that point, how do you scratch the itch of like adventure? Now you're in this academic job, and the jobs are fun, but they are the same from year to year. And you strike me as somebody who likes to be out in the wild, like getting your hands dirty with like the things that you study. So how do you build the adventure into your life?
Well, probably 2 major ways. One of the ways, which we'll talk about, I hope later, is the wildlife show.
Okay.
And that has been one big adventure. And then the research has allowed me to do that too. So one of our research projects was, can you lasso an alligator from a boat?
Sure.
And so a student
You
and I...
just said sure.
Yeah, I mean...
I cannot.
Yeah, that's a little different than a lot of people's research projects.
A student and I went to Louisiana,
Yeah.
and we caught 20 alligators. One of them was 8 feet.
Wow.
Hey, I need you to know that I was in Belize once, and I caught a baby alligator that was about that big, and I was really proud of myself.
Dude, no.
I can't believe
It
that.
was at night. It was at night, and we were with professionals, and I was fascinated by the whole thing. I can't imagine doing something at that
I have a twofold question. How did you sell this to a union student? And then how did you sell it to that student's parents? I feel like our students are like, Cluck, I fell down and skinned my knee. I'm going to be out of class for 2.5 weeks while it heals. Like
it took the right person to buy into all this.
Look, that's why I'm here. I think at Union that's why I'm in this world, right? There is a subgroup of people out there who are born to be the bridge between public and nature.
fascinating.
And I think we're born that way because I've seen parents try to wean it out of their kids or whatever, discourage it out of their kids.
Right.
They
Out of
cannot-
fear.
Yep,
Out of fear.
Yep. They try to use fear, keep them away from
Yeah.
animals, but they can't.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
And so if you have a classroom of 20 kids and there's a spider, right? 19 of them are going to run away. They're going to try to kill it. But then there's that one kid and their parents can't explain it. That one kid's going to be like, hey, this is a living thing. This is a life. It's just here. Let's
Yeah.
let's just put it outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that kid is thought of as a weirdo, right?
Sure.
And kind of outcast. And I read Steve Irwin's biography, and he was that kid. And so I know these kids. And one of the best things that happened to me was 2 semesters ago, a student wrote me a letter and said, "Hey, my whole life I thought I was a weirdo, and I've dumbed down my love for nature just so I could fit in. And for the first time, I feel like like God made me this way."
That's incredible.
And that
Yeah,
changed
very
everything.
Cool. Yeah,
well,
very
and
cool.
I think people think that, and again, always with a lot of things I say, I'm not sure I know what I'm talking about. But I think that if you have such a love for animals, you think, oh, I've got to go be a vet or something. And when you're like, no, I don't know that that's what I want to do. I love animals. And so what can students do if they're like, nope, that's not it. I have a love for animals and nature and the world in that way, but it's not to go be a vet.
So that's exactly why I made working on the wild side. And I knew I was that student who thought being a vet was my only option. So I started working at the vet, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Like this isn't
too tame.
scratching the itch. It's too tame. And so then I went and worked in an aquarium, and it still didn't feel right. I felt like I was just taking care of pets.
Sure.
And so through this kind of life journey that God had me on, I got to see behind the curtains into a world of unbelievable jobs where people can make good money, raise a family on it, and still do the adventurous outdoor jobs. And so I was like, well, that's easy. Let's do like a Dirty Jobs, wildlife version of Dirty Jobs, that old show with Mike Rowe. Let's go find these people, film what a day in their life is like, and then put it out there so students can know that there's these jobs out there, and
That's
there are
good.
so many of them, but they're so scared of PETA, and they're so scared of like media taking their work the wrong way that they
Right.
just hide out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of mistruths about these jobs and the way we interact with nature. These are people who love nature more than anybody, right? And so we've got 11 episodes. I'm working on one right now that I'm editing. It's an alligator technician. And
An alligator technician. In all of my 54 years, I've never thought that is somebody's job.
Could have been
another-
your job.
It could have been mine.
all right, here's another
Yeah.
one nobody knows about. So every airplane you've ever been on, the TSA makes sure you safely get on the plane, make sure
Yes.
no one's going to blow it up or anything, right?
Yes.
Well, every airport has somebody, a biologist, that's making sure those planes get off the runway, because they have all kinds of animals that could be on the runway, cause a strike.
Sure.
The Miracle on the Hudson, that was caused by
Bird strike, right?
Yep. A flock of Canada geese. In Memphis, they found peacocks on their runways.
Wow.
I've been to airports where they found alligators on the runways. So it takes biologists at all these airports to make sure that these populations are kept off of, the place where they could
Listen,
potentially strike an airplane.
I thought you were going to say that there are biologists because there's wildlife and animals on the planes.
Yeah, that's true.
And they need to make sure that they're all taken care of. So see, yet again, never crossed my mind. Had no idea.
So we have wildlife in the room, and I was promised an owl appearance today. That was my
I promise I
Yeah.
did not bring her.
that was my reason for getting off the couch and coming in here today. So
And that's the other way that I keep adventure alive in my life. So
Yeah.
I'm going to show you Athena.
let's do this.
Athena is our only educational bird at the moment, and so I'm going to get her out
Okay.
and
Great.
let y'all interact with her a little
Yeah.
bit.
And this is kind of where I said, Ted, that I would like for a little excitement to occur.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling she'll behave and she'll act right because she's an educational bird and she
Yeah.
knows what she's doing. This is not her first rodeo, but oh my gosh, she's coming out of a cage.
Let's go, dude.
Oh my gosh. I might be sweating right now.
Dude, the wind from her wings.
Was that a normal reaction for her
Yeah.
as she came out, or is she worked up about something?
Oh, she's taking it in, and
Yeah. Taking it all in.
Oh,
little,
she's
little
bigger
frightening to see new people.
She's
Sure,
bigger than I
sure.
thought. Micah.
She's beautiful.
She is.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Would she?
How many times did
she'd
you
be
pet her
amenable
mouth?
to
Yeah,
this?
Yeah, she would.
Wow.
I'm
So
scared.
barred owls are incredibly sweet by nature. If I had a great horned owl in here, we get a lot of great horned owls and barred owls in, and the great horned owls are different animals. They're feisty.
I feel like
What
her
a beautiful,
eye-
soft
I feel
animal.
like she's looking back at us like, I'm not sure about you. Or she looks like she's going to go to sleep, Ted. One of the two.
I'm soothing her.
Are
Give
you?
her a little head scratch. And close
She
her
likes
eyes
that?
and put her head back. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good baby.
look at her.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to pet her too.
Dude, what a privilege for you to get to interact with these animals. And
You aren't kidding.
you know, it's interesting. Like, we all enjoy, I think, God's creation differently. And I have pets that I love, and whenever I see them, I think, man, what a creative God we worship and serve. And
I think
you
it's
know,
the adventurous side of God. I think
Yeah.
it's the fun, adventurous side of him because he doesn't have to do this.
yeah,
But he created animals. That is part of his creation. And I think, man, how literally wild and fun of him to give us all kinds, whether we like them or not. I don't like the snake, but for whatever reason, God chose to create them. And I think, man, you get to learn about them, study them. I think, not sure that I know what I'm talking about, but they're not all the same. Like, she is her own self and probably has her own personality and her own tendencies and her own likes and dislikes. And I think that's really, really cool that you get to study her and help others love and study animals of all kinds. I think it's just incredible.
Well, I think this is the best time to be alive, because, and I mean that, because we are getting to, every year they come out with a new piece of equipment to unlock a part of the world that no human being has ever seen before. It was purely God enjoying these things. So now they have underwater microphones.
Oh, wow.
And microphones that can turn vibrations into sound. So we're getting to hear things that no human has ever heard before, that only God has heard before. We have cameras that can film in color at night. So for the first time, they're seeing what's going on the African savannas at night.
That's
and there's
crazy.
we're unlocking worlds that have never been, perceived by our limited senses. Do you want to pet Athena?
I do.
You should do it.
Okay, and
she's awesome.
oh, she's so soft.
Yeah, you're a good girl.
Hey, girl. Hi.
And Athena has lived up to her name. She is, the goddess of war and craftiness, and she's been here longer than I have. And
No kidding.
Our cages at the rehab center, this is something I wanted to talk about,
I love
are
her.
wearing out. And, predators are getting in there. And she has managed to survive multiple predators getting in. And so one of the things I'm going to be working really hard on is just trying to raise some more money to rebuild our cages out there, because we have the biggest flyway in Tennessee, right? And it was built to be able to handle bald eagles. And so we rehabbed and released 5 bald eagles in conjunction, cooperation with the Memphis Zoo this summer. And so they called us up. They were super pumped. They're like, we don't have a place big enough for these eagles to be able to fly.
Wow.
And so we have one of them that they're able to do that. But the sad part is, this stuff is wearing out, and predators are getting into our cages. And, these birds are supposed to find sanctuary there. So people can donate on the website if they want to invest in what we do for the community.
Yeah.
And this is a valuable resource for the community, because when people find things, what do you do with it? Do you just let nature take its course?
Right.
It's you find a exquisite animal like this.
That's right.
How are you supposed to just let it sit on the road and get
No.
eaten by coyotes or
No.
ants
That's right.
or whatever?
That's right.
And they can bring it to us, and we have a tremendous relationship with our vet, and she's one of the few vets in this area in West Tennessee that can work on exotics, and so she loves the birds more than any of us, and she loves to work on them.
Now, give us that website URL so that people know where to go to make their
On
gifts.
Union's website, right?
On Union's website, yeah.
Okay.
The Google Union University Wildlife Rehab Center, and
Got it.
there's a big red button to donate.
Excellent.
And so,
Okay, can I ask you a couple questions about her?
yes, absolutely.
How old is she? And how would you know how old she is?
That's hard to determine. I can check the log and see when she first came in.
Okay.
But I have a feeling it was around 2014, I think.
And what's the lifespan
And she
of
was
her?
an adult.
Okay.
And so, in the wild, it's not going to be nearly as long as captive. So the fact
Right.
that she's been captive has definitely extended
yeah.
her life.
Yeah.
But the sad thing about Athena is if you look at this
Oh.
eye,
Oh.
you see the missing eye?
Yes.
So somebody
Precious.
shot at Athena
Oh,
with
my
a
goodness.
shotgun, and the
No.
BBs, one of the BBs went in the eye. The
I
X-ray
can't.
showed
Oh,
BB
wow.
in the eye, a couple BBs in the shoulder, and there's really no need to
Yeah.
shoot at an owl in
Sure.
any situation, right? They're
Sure.
nocturnal.
Yeah.
They're just after mice
Yeah.
and rodents, so they're ecologically helping us keep
Yeah.
those populations down. And so it was probably just for fun, right? Do something funny, and that's one of the issues. That's one of the things I'm going to be working on my whole life, is to change our global culture, how we look at animals.
Yeah.
Because I've been to countries where Thailand's a Buddhist country, utmost respect for nature, right? Now they're bordering on nature worship, so
Sure.
I think we could increase the amount of respect for nature, because I was at the the stoplight right outside the front frat houses, and there was a turtle crossing the road. So I got out and was helping this turtle get where it needed to go, and people were honking at me. They were trying to run me over, and I knew they saw the turtle. They just
Right.
didn't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
care, and that killed me. That made me
Yeah.
realize something's
Yeah.
got to change.
Yeah.
And so I need the students. I need the people out there who are those animal freaks, and we need to create culture.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. I love animals except for snakes, and that's just a weird thing because I think snakes are creepy and they slither, and I don't know. Maybe if they had legs and feet, I might feel differently about them. But I love what you love, and I love that you care so much about it. And she is just precious to me. I don't ever want anything to happen to her now that I feel like she's our friend, and she is. I feel like she likes us too. What does she eat? What is so? If she's in contained space, are you feeding her a mouse and a rat and those things?
So the cool part about it is most of the
question.
year I have students taking care of these birds full
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
And what an extraordinary experience to be able to offer them, because they can put that on a resume,
Yeah.
and that stands out. People are
Right.
going to see that and be like, oh, wow, this
Yeah.
is cool. And so they do all the day-to-day feeding,
Okay.
cleaning, caring,
Oh, I love
educational
this.
outreach, and it's just a tremendous opportunity for them. They get to interact with animals. We would never get to interact with this
Right.
animal, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And there's just so many cool things when you get up close. You can see the different feathers around
I
the
love
face.
it.
Those
She's
all
beautiful.
have form and
Yeah.
functions.
Beautiful.
That it's like a satellite dish. It funnels in sound, and their ears are offset. So one's lower, the other's higher, so they can get perfect direction on where their prey is.
Interesting.
Incredible that they are made that way.
Yeah.
And they also eat crayfish, and just like flamingos are pink because they eat a lot of shrimp.
Yeah.
If they eat a lot of crayfish, they actually get pink hues on the underside of their wings, which is so cool.
Wow.
And so one of the other fascinating things about them is, I think it was somebody set up a warehouse with hundreds of microphones, and then they had birds flying over the microphones, and you hear the hawk making noise. Different birds. Then they did the owl, and the owl flew over the microphones. There was no detectable sound.
Wow.
They're the only bird that I know of that has perfectly silent flight, and
Amazing.
that's how it's
Amazing
incredible.
creatures. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, unbelievable. Truly.
Did you have Did you have Darius Mullen as a student?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Darius and I would have a conversation about animals and just the animals that you love, they're easy to love, but then the animals that you're like, I'm not real sure why the Lord created this, but great. Darius said something to me once that I've never forgotten, and forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, but I understood what he was saying in the moment when I was questioning, why would the Lord create whatever animal? And Darius, looked at animals through the lens of these animals reflect our Creator. We have a creative God.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to think about all that He has created, the animals, they are all so different. Humans, yeah, we're different, but we all kind of look the same. We all have the same facial features, like we're all constructed essentially the same. But animals, oh my gosh, what a wild creation. All the different kinds and how they're made and why they're made in the way that they are. I began to view God and His creativity in a completely different way when I just kind of like you, I didn't have the respect and the understanding. I loved animals, but I didn't have a proper view of their uniqueness and why they do what they do and why they look the way they look. And I would never consider her ears
Yeah.
or how she
Right.
flies or that she's silent or any of those things. So
And that's basically the theme of this past couple hundred years is we haven't appreciated that, and we start to play pretty rough with God's creation, and it starts to disappear, and then things start to get worse for us. Wetlands. We
Yeah.
didn't appreciate wetlands. They were stinky places that bred mosquitoes, so we drained them and got rid of them.
right.
And we essentially took away the kidneys of the environment, the thing that cleans our water for us, the thing that protects us from flooding, the thing that protects us from the severity of storms.
Sure.
And so now, only recently, since the 80s, we started to realize, oh, wow, these wetlands actually have an important function.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same case for every
Yeah.
creature that's out there. There's a niche. And that's what I teach my students is if the God that created this made everything with a special purpose, wouldn't He have a special purpose for you too? And there's so many verses in the Bible, I make my students learn at least 3 of them, that talk about, God has left His fingerprints all over creation so that it points back to Him.
Yeah.
And so I've been in constant search of, how does it point to Him, right? So that's something I'm still pursuing, and it's maybe obvious, like when I'm looking at something, it just is pure appreciation for the Creator, what unique attributes they have, and it's extraordinary. So I'm very honored, and I love telling my students, as a biologist, you get to study the fingerprints of God as you look deep into these animals.
Beautiful.
Indeed.
And I think for a lot of them, it's kind of a form of worship. They're left in
Yeah.
awe.
Yeah. Oh.
I
Don't
believe
you
it.
love her? Don't you
I
just
do.
wish you could take her home? Would
Yeah.
she just sit there on your hand for as long as...
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never known her to do anything aggressive towards anybody, and she's done a lot of shows. And that's one of the cool things about the rehab center is even if we can't release them, we can turn them into animal ambassadors.
Sure.
And those animal ambassadors go to places like Darius's Cypress Grove,
Right.
and they can be a place that people can interact with these animals, because that's the other thing. A lot of people out there, they want humans to just back away from nature.
Right.
Don't interact with it at all. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And they can't connect with that way. We need people to love nature. We need them to connect and form connections. And so we need kids getting outdoors more.
Yeah.
We need kids
Yeah.
looking under logs,
Absolutely.
playing with bugs and
Yeah.
picking up things.
Yeah.
Because if they don't have a connection, they're just not going to care.
Okay, so for local people, you're the person that if they find an animal that is in distress of some kind, I know that I have thrown your name around, like email Micah Fern or call him because he'll come and get, or you or J.R. Kerfoot, somebody. That's true, right? And or what animals are you like, we're not going to take this, but like you can't take everything because I get that. But what for local people right here in Jackson, what does that look like for them?
So legally, skunks and bats are, we can't do that, but
I
We
would
have-
support that.
we have the facilities to do birds of prey.
Okay.
We do take small mammals, and so one of the joys that I have is we get in the spring lots of baby raccoons and possums and squirrels and all these things. And so the students have always been great. I can identify the ones who really have that love, and then they take on that responsibility, and they've been tremendous so far.
I love it.
So we do take some small mammals in and rehab them as well. And I'm always trying to get animals into the hands of students so
Yeah.
that they can get those experiences,
Yeah.
because they're life-changing experiences.
Yeah.
Truly. Yeah.
I think this is awesome.
I think it is too. And what a great thing to have here. I mean, this is one of the advantages of the small college environment, right? You can know your professors, you can get to know the animal world through your professor who's passionate about it and who sees it as part of God's creation. This is exactly what we want
Yes.
happening at Union. And it's fun for me to like get out of my discipline a little bit and go and enjoy yours, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a rich part
Yeah.
of campus life, you know, that we should avail ourselves to
Yeah.
more often. So I'm glad
You
we did
need,
it.
you need to explore the world of bugs, because Dr. Bloschke can open that door
Oh,
for you.
huge bug guy.
He will
Blosch.
make you
Yeah.
a lover and just in awe of that world. It's
I can't.
extraordinary.
That's part of that
Yeah.
creation that I was like, I just can't quite go there.
Yeah, I would say I'm more drawn to this.
I like some
Yeah.
softness
Yeah.
to them that I can love a little bit, but a hard back
Yeah.
creature that's just crawling on the ground. No.
You know what, though? You make a good point, and I think you and Bloschke share in common a passion for your craft, you know, a deep reverence for God's creation, and that can't help but be translated to people. So I've had experiences with him, just knowing him over the years, and with you now, that I've gone into a situation thinking, well, I have no interest in that, or that's not my thing, or whatever, and then you become won over by it, and I think that's what great teachers do.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the increasing affections business,
Yeah.
you know, and if we can increase affection for the Lord through His creation, then you've done a
I'm
good
going to
thing
make
at work.
I'm making a field trip down there. I
Yeah,
personally
should
am
do it.
going to come down and see things, and I'll learn to embrace the bug.
Oh, I think it's great.
Athena, you've been so good today.
Incredible guest.
I mean, she's
Yeah.
just remarkable.
She really is.
She knows what to do and how to behave.
And I'm telling you, it's not just for y'all. She's like
Yeah.
this all the time.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. What a treasure.
But we
Yeah.
have a lot of outreach opportunities. We have all the animals in Whitehall. We have the rehab center, and we have the plastination lab,
Yeah.
which has been
Right.
we didn't even talk about that. We're
Yeah.
plastinating
Yeah.
animals in a way that nobody in the country is doing. So we're one of 4 labs in the entire country, and most students interact with these specimens in jars of nasty preservatives, and that's it. But with plastination, they can handle it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible. I have seen that, and I'm blown away every time somebody starts talking about it. I think, oh wow, what a gift!
That's right.
But what a gift! What a gift! Thank you so much for
Yeah.
being here.
This was awesome. Thanks
It
for coming,
is
man.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Are we almost out of time?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah.
Dang, that was quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quick. Athena, come back for part 2 maybe one day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll get her back in the
But
studio.
not the snake.
Yeah, no,
not the snake.
Would they don't get along? Would they behave well together?
Yeah, I've got a snake that's just as sweet as Athena.
Ah.
I've had students knit sweaters for the snake.
Wow.
And
Well, there you go, folks.
You'll have that.
had a woman kiss it on the mouth.
No,
Wow.
no. Cut. End of show. Thank you for being here. It was so much
Thank y'all.
fun.
I
Thank
enjoyed it
you.
a lot.
Thank you.
And
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank you for the platform to talk about some of the things I care about.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We
Anytime.
appreciate you. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Let's Talk About That, a Union University podcast. Y'all have a great day.
Yeehaw.